So I'm Susie Ellis, and I'm with the Global Wellness Summit, and this is our masterclass series, and this is the one on spas and wellness in the time of the global crisis. And we have Sue Harmsworth, and Nancy is going to introduce her, but I do want to say, this is by far the largest Zoom call we have, which shows the popularity of Sue. And I want to let you know how many different countries are on the call today. And that is a record also, Sue, thanks to you. There are 99 countries represented, and some that we've not had on calls before: Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cambodia, Namibia, Serbia. I think it says a lot about Sue's influence globally. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Davis, who's going to moderate this master class, and I can't wait to hear Sue and her wisdom. So Nancy, over to you.
Thank you, Susie, and welcome everyone. That's incredible, 99 countries, and we had over 1,000 people sign up. So Sue is definitely as popular as we would think she would be. I'm going to give you a couple of very quick notes about Zoom and how we're going to do this call, and then I will introduce Sue. So Beatrice has muted everyone, and we're going to leave everybody muted because with a group of this size, it's really necessary to eliminate background noise in order to be able to hear Sue. If you want to see the mosaic that Susie was referencing and all the pages of people that are on this, if you bring your cursor to the top right of the Zoom window, you can choose gallery view. That gives you a kind of incredible mosaic. And in the middle of that screen to the right, there's an arrow. And as you click that arrow, you can see all of the pages of people who have joined this call. However, if you want to see the glamorous Sue Harmsworth up close, and who wouldn't, choose the speaker view when she's talking. And then you get to see how glorious Sue Harmsworth is. We encourage you, so the way we're going to do questions, because of the group of this size, is going to ask you to post them in the chat screen. So if you have a question for Sue, we'll be monitoring that all along the way. We'll aggregate. A lot of people ask similar kinds of questions. We'll try to group them so that the conversation stays very focused, and we will ask Sue to answer your questions, but we're going to first ask her to give a bit of a presentation, a kind of a talk. So without further ado, Sue Harmsworth, as many of you know, is really a legend. She is the founder of the ESPA brand, and at any given time, she's working in 50 countries on projects that are the envy of the industry, and it'll be interesting to find out how she continues to do that while on lockdown. She's highly regarded for her creativity, her business savvy, and a lifetime devotion to spa and wellness. She was awarded the honor of the MBE, the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, in acknowledgement of her services to the spa and beauty industry. She's also built businesses during very challenging times in the world, and she's going to share how she has done that and managed to stay on top of the industry for decades. She's whip smart, has a heart of gold, and is renowned for her honesty and, shall we say, forthright nature. But we're going to keep this G-rated, Sue, so be careful. She is a force of nature, and we're really honored to have her with us here today. She's going to speak for a little bit, and then we'll take questions. Sue? You'll have to unmute. There we go.
Okay, I was unmuted. Can you hear me now? Great. Listen, I'm absolutely thrilled to be doing this, and I cannot believe the numbers of people. What I thought I would do is give you my view of the global situation as it is now. I want to be very realistic. I know that all of you are doing masses of meditation, mindfulness, and all of those things. So I thought from my view, I would be more practical, if you like. And it's sad in a way that we're meeting under these circumstances. And as I reflect, I was in Thailand in January when Chinese New Year, when the whole thing kind of went viral. And then I ended up in Saudi, and I got one of the last flights out. And then I was at my house in Tenerife when Spain went into total lockdown. And then I came back to England because I felt I might get stuck for many months, and so it would have been. So I think we're in a situation that we haven't been in before. However, we've been in crises throughout history. So what I thought I would do is I would take this into 3 sections, because if we look at the negativity, I think we really won't move forward. This has obviously been devastating for our industry, with so many of our spas, wellness, medical centers closed. However, there will be a time when we get out of it. Personally, I think it's going to take a long time, because I think until we have the vaccine, we have testing that we can rely on, we have data that is accurate, we know about immunity and all of those things, I don't think we'll be able to move forward in the way that we would wish. And I don't think that we'll ever get back to where we were before. I think we're going to be in a new paradigm, and there will be a new norm. Now, interestingly, in my view, pre-COVID, we were already moving towards medical and, excuse me, and wellness, and spa was having to reinvent itself. And I think this is going to be a time where that leapfrogs. We're already finding the benefits of technology, and for all the negatives of technology in mindfulness and stress and anxiety, we've now learned the benefits of it. And I think the world will never be the same from a business perspective, the way we do conferences, the way we do business on Zoom or whatever method, go to meeting, Teams, whatever it is. I think that our flying will change. We're seeing our world change. We're seeing sustainability. We're seeing the planet come back to life. I'm in a privileged position to be in my house in leafy Surrey. I'm seeing wildlife that I've not seen in 10 years. So there are big pluses. However, we're in a very difficult position now. And so what I'd like to do is take now, and then take when we start to ease out of lockdown, and then I'd like to look 2 or 3 years forward. So right now, while none of us can work, or very few of us can work, I think it's really important to maximize this time. And I'm quite surprised. I know a lot of you are doing amazing work, but equally it's amazing how many people are doing very little. And the 2 things that I think we have to do now is, number 1, prepare ourselves for the new paradigm, both physically with our spas and with our wellness centers. So whatever it is, the physicality of that building, we have to look at that, and we have to prepare for a new time. We also have to maximize training online while we can. As an industry, we never have enough time for training. So now is the perfect time. We're going to have a lot of our practitioners, as we come out of this, who are going to be bombarded with guests with mental issues, bereavement issues, sleep issues, all the issues that we were already identifying before COVID are going to be of a much greater magnitude. And we have to have our teams ready. And to have our teams ready, we have to empower them, the therapists, the practitioners, whether they're complementary health, whether they're doctors, whether they're spa therapists. And now is a really good time to do that. And I think if you take the issues that we're going to face one by one, and you look at contraindications, and you look at the training that's available online, now is a really good time to be dealing with all of that. I said mental health, I think that's going to be one of the biggest ones. Cancer isn't going away, 1 in 2 people. Nutrition for the immune system. One of the biggest things I think we're going to see are programs and needs for building the immune system, and how we can best do that. We have to teach the therapists empathy, We have to be teaching them how to deflect negative energy. And I really encourage all of you as much as possible to be mentors and to teach, you know, a lot of them very young and not experienced in life, to really elevate their skills and become better people. The other big one that I think is going to be enormous is hygiene. And as we come out of this, and a few people are already talking. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine who has an online business, and she was saying she's got sites already talking about opening, and I'm talking worldwide, I'm not talking in any particular country. She's already got people talking about reopening. Now, in my view, and this is my view from an educated perspective, I've talked to people around the globe, we won't stop this virus until we have a vaccine. And so every time a country opens, we fear a spike. And if we don't have a second spike quickly, people are worried that we'll have a second spike in October when the flu and the winter season starts. And so until we have that vaccine, we're going to be testing. Until we have a test that is easy for us, that we can do on every client that comes into the spa or wellness, that is also can be done on the staff on a regular basis. The two things that the consumer is going to be looking for are brands they can trust, hygiene they can trust, and that they're in a safe environment. And social distancing is going to be really difficult. So talking about hygiene, I think we're going to be looking at hospital grade sterilization. We're going to have to go paper free. We're going to have to look at disposables. So instead of towels and linens, we're going to, and this is the short term, remember, I'm not talking long term, I'm talking about as we come out and the things we have to look at. Guests are going to have to be given gloves and masks, single-use product. We mustn't be refilling product or doing anything like that. All spas, salons, wellness destinations need big autoclaves for sterilization. Basically, any tools that you're using that you can't sterilize 100%, you then have to give to your guests. How you dispose of all your waste. And then the other big one that you can be preparing for now is online business. I think spas and wellness are going to become important in the community. The general thinking is that we're not going to be flying for quite some time. As a lot of you may have read, British Airways have made huge redundancies today because they think people aren't going to be doing long haul travel for a long time. So therefore your domestic and your local market are going to be really important, and it's really important that you engage with them now. And I think we need to be doing workshops and education to encourage them to come in when we finally do open our doors. Then we need to look at treatments. I don't know about you, but everybody I talk to doesn't think that real touch will come back quickly. So things like massage, what are we going to do about that if it was 50%, 60% of your business? And how are we going to approach treatments? I think we have to look at completely new treatment menus. And that means, I think to start with, we need treatments where both the therapist and the guest are fully clothed. Now that means things like tie pajamas, so that we'll be doing assisted stretching, we'll do acupressure, we'll do Thai massage, shiatsu, anything that you can do clothed. And then with aesthetics, aesthetics is going to be really difficult. The more holistic facials and things like that are going to be really hard. So I think the clinical aesthetics, machines, and the more, you know, those more medical treatments are also going to become very popular. I think we're going to be looking at machinery that does a lot of the treatments in the short term for sure. How it will happen further on, we don't really know. And I think we have to, at this time, while we're training our therapists, while we're getting ready, while we're thinking about treatment menus, we're going to have to go paperless anyway. We need to completely think about what we're going to do with our buildings. So complete sterilization, hospital grade, you need to think, I mean, at the moment, apparently talking to the medics, there are new cleaning materials being worked on at the moment, but one has to be conscious of the finishes. So anybody who's in the process of building, I would suggest that you really seriously look at your finishes and make sure that everything can be sterilized properly, using UV, using steam, using ozone, all these things. So I think that that's going to be a very big topic. SOPs, get on with your SOPs for hygiene. They're going to be enormous, and you're going to have to train your staff before you open as well. On a positive note, I think that the human beings need other human beings. And that touch, that need for touch, I don't think will go away. And a lot of you know Michael, my son, and I said to Michael, I was doing this, and I said, what's the one thing that you think is going to happen? And he said, it's going to be how quickly people forget. So if you think a few years forward, and all of this is history because we've got a vaccine, we've done the testing. I believe there'll be viruses coming on a regular basis, but once we've got the vaccine and we've got the testing cracked, people will then lose the fear. I think losing the fear is going to take some time. But if you think back through history and you think back through Ebola and HIV and the plague and all these things, it's a horrible time in history, but people do forget. And our industry is so robust, and our clients are going to need us more than we can believe. So our education, our energy, our motivation, and all of those things are going to be really important. I do think that the medical clinics will do particularly well in this time because obviously people will trust their hygiene processes, their doctors, their skill set. So I think they're going to probably thrive in a way before maybe the regular spas, but I think it depends also on how you tackle everything that I've talked about. I could go on, and there's a lot of topics I can talk about, but Nancy asked me to talk for about 15-20 minutes, and then I think wanted to take some questions. Is that right, Nancy?
Yes, but I think you could, what you're saying is so valuable and really helpful and practical, and I'm watching the chats and the questions, so I think if you want to go a few more minutes, please do, and then we'll get to some questions.
Okay. I'll try and remember all my bits and pieces. So back to that treatment piece, I think we can do breath work in the spas. So the clothed treatments, you may not disagree with, but I think it's a way forward in the short term. But also breath work and meditation one-on-one, life coaching one-on-one. I think anything to do with respiratory. So going forward, look at all the machinery, the hyperbaric. Dr. Mark Cohen's done a lot on heat. Basically, sauna is being proved to be very beneficial because obviously over 60 degrees, it destroys the virus. I'm a great one for bathing as well because I think, you know, obviously we can treat the water to kill the virus as well. I think air quality, when you're doing your sterilization of your property, make sure you look at your air con and that you find a way of sterilizing the interior setup of your aircon, but also the air quality coming through. I think air quality and water quality going forward are going to be really, really important. So anybody who's got a filtered hot pool or filtered pools, I would get onto the experts and see if there's ways of upping the quality of the water, and also your system, your UV system or your ozone system or your chlorine system or whatever it is, to make sure that you can market the fact that it's that it kills all bugs. So, you know, heat, bathing, as long as they're killing the bugs and you can market that, I think that's going to be a big thing. There are discussions about sharing. I've got it with 2 of my clients at the moment about whether we should have shared saunas, whether we should have shared hot pools, and so on and so forth. It may not happen in the beginning. So if you've got thermal suites or you've got thermal facilities, what I would suggest is we go back to the old-fashioned way, which was it was bookable. So that you do a circuit, you do your hot, cold, you rest, and then you have your treatment. And, you know, in the old days, going back to the old health resorts that I ran, we used to book a guest 45 minutes before treatment, and their time was booked. So they were in the sauna on their own, they were in the plunge on their own, or the ice fountain or whatever it was, or the steam cabbie or the steam room. It was part of their treatment. And I would suggest, if you find social distancing's difficult, that would be a good way around it in the short term, again, until we see whether, we haven't got a crystal ball. We don't know whether people will get into pools with other people. I think things like exercising in the pool, you can do one-on-one PT. I mean, it's been my lifesaver. I exercise in the pool regularly. I have an aqua rider in the pool. But I think one-on-one PT in the pool is going to be fantastic, especially for those resorts who have those facilities and don't know what to do with them, for instance. So what else were we thinking about? Oh yeah, the other thing is, I think we might have a demographic change, because in the last 10, 15 years, data has shown that the main users of spas and wellness have been over 45s. Now, by nature, you all know I'm well over 70. By nature, I am now more cautious about my health. So I think the whole thing about the virus that's scary is you've got to look after your health. So I'm not risk averse. Think of the countries that I've been to and the places I've been to, and with terrorism and God knows what, and I really am not risk averse. But when it comes to my personal health, I am very risk averse. Whereas I think the younger, I'm talking now probably 28 to 38, they're not so risk averse. So we may find that they are back in our spas quicker. The other thing I think that we're going to find is grooming and beauty. So before if you're opening, think about things that are needs led. What do we need? You know, I need a pedicure so desperately, I can't tell you, because I can't reach a couple of my toes. I can reach one lot and I can't reach the other lot. But it's things that people really need, and that we need to support them in, that I think will be really important. So to summarize a little bit, anything to do with the immune system and building the immune system, you know, any kind of education that you can give them and tools that you can give them, the foods they should be eating, their anxiety, the supplements they should use, research the wellness products, and work your online business. Now is the time to get your online business. I know lots of you do already, but a lot of you don't. Get your online business sorted. If we're going to go paperless, you need everything either on an app or on something in the short term, you know, your treatment menus and all of that stuff. But sales, I have a few friends and colleagues in the industry who, sorry, I lost my train of thought there because I'd started looking at the screen with the questions coming up. I shouldn't have done that. but they've done very well. It's been their salvation because they've got either products or they've got goods that they sell in their spas, and they've put everything online. Because people can't go to spas, obviously the online business is booming in products and stuff like that. So if you sort that piece of your business, at least you'll have some revenue. So I think use this downtime to take all these tools that I'm giving you and try and be ready. I mean, that's the thing, is you need to drive now harder than you've ever driven. We're almost in a war situation, and it will be survival of the fittest. And I think take that energy that all of you have had and the connectivity that we have as a global tribe and put it to really good use to look to the future, to open your businesses successfully, but think completely out of the box. It is not going to be how it was before. There you go, Nancy. I think you can throw me some questions now.
Sue, that was, yeah, incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I am watching the chat. You don't have to, so you don't have to worry about that. And there are some real threads of, questions that I'll put together. But one to start is that, I mean, you really lead the industry in terms of designing and building all kinds of new spas and destinations and wellness destinations. You're a longtime proponent of integrative medicine and health and wellness. How have you pivoted your own business? When clients come to you now, what are you doing? What are the important things that you're doing that are different, perhaps, as you look ahead and advise your clients on the planning of new spas?
So I'm now designing wellness destinations. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing a lot of projects anymore. I'm doing big ones and major ones and advising boards and things like that. So they're more destination wellness and bringing together, exactly as you said, integrative medicine. But I had two that were ready to break ground and ready to go. And the owners naturally in both of them are worried about all the sharing facilities, and in particular things like thermal. So again, we don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think people are going to want to go into public areas. So for instance, I don't want to go on the tube. So I'm not answering your first question about the business. I'll answer that in a minute. But I don't want to go on the tube. I don't want to go into an airport. I don't want to go into a cinema or anything like that. But if I'm in a wellness spa resort or day spa or whatever it is with like-minded people, and I trust that brand and I trust their hygiene and I trust their SOPs and all of that sort of stuff, then I don't want to be alienated from people. I think it's this thing of like-minded people. You might want some social distancing for a little while. And there is this thought that we should be testing everybody. With the quick test that is coming to the market now very fast, the one that's like a pregnancy test where you just do the pinprick and you can do it in 10 minutes. And that's almost like a safety thing. Like if everybody does that the day before they arrive or on arrival and the staff are all doing it, that's just it's a basic safety thing until we're out of this. And we might not be out of it for 18 months, 2 years, before people start to fly again in the way that they used to. And as I said before, I think they're going to stay close to home. So I think one of the arts of a successful business is really to listen to the consumer. And I've done that all my life. And I've been ahead of the market. I've been in the industry 50 years. I had my first business when I was 25. And I
was going to say when you were 6.
Yeah. And, but I've always been ahead because I've always been in the head of what the market wants and what the consumer wants. I think at the moment, it's probably, even before COVID, we were going through a quantum change. And now we're going to go through an even bigger quantum change. So everything's sectionalizing. However, what's interesting to me is the medical clinics, the really successful ones, are recognizing they haven't got enough of the holistic piece and the spiritual piece. And then the more holistic ones are recognizing they haven't got enough of the medical piece. So I think now people want results. They want proven data. They want testing. scanning, all these things. So and it's difficult because I'm sure our audience here is a real mix of hotels with spas, destination wellness. Well, I know they are because they all sent me emails this morning, and a whole mixture. And I think you have to decide who you are at the moment, because you can't be all things to all people. And doing a medical destination, the staffing cost is going to be huge, because the specialists, you know, they have to be specialists. I mean, therapists are hard enough to train, but you can take an average therapist and do a postgraduate training with them, and in 3 months you can take them from average to good or very good. You can't do that with a naturopath, an osteopath, an acupuncturist, doctors, and so on and so forth. So I think you have to look at your market, decide where that need is. Let's go from the need rather than all the hype. There is so much hype around at the moment, and I've given up almost listening to the news because we don't know. And as I said earlier, till we have a vaccine, till we have reliable testing, till we know if you've had it, how long you're immune, and all those things, we can't move forward, because it'll keep reinfecting and reoccurring. So till we've got the vaccine, I mean, they're making amazing strides. There's about 3 or 4 in particular centers around the world. But, you know, even if they find the answer, which they're very close to doing, they've still got to manufacture it. And you know the problem we've had with PPE globally, and the difficulty in finding all these things. So we're going to have to be ready for that. I think PPE is going to be part of our industry. It might be in a lesser form, but I think it's going to be part of our industry going forward. The building the business, never run before you can walk. People over leverage. Now that's where we're going to have the big downfall now. I think that where we're going to see the problems, both individually and for businesses, is this over leveraging, personally and business wise. And I think we may well see it when we come out of COVID. I think we may well see a change in that. I think people are finding family time again. It's amazing the number of women I have spoken to who've said, it's awful, my business is falling off a cliff, but I am loving being at home with my children and my husband or my partner, because I've never done that. And I think one of my ex-employees I spoke to, she said she's lived in the same house for 19 years and she's gone through 3 skips. It's the first time she's found balance in her life, that she can be at home. So good things will come out of it. I think community, family, I think we may become less materialistic, hopefully. We'll stop buying things for the sake of it. I mean, we've had to do that. We've had to learn to cook. A lot of us are gardening. I mean, Charlie, my son, has put together this amazing vegetable garden with fruit cages and God knows what, and a tree house, because he had his girls at home and was homeschooling and all that stuff. So yeah, I think we're going to see big changes, hopefully. So I think on the positive side, yes, we're going into a new era, hopefully a better era, hopefully not destroying our planet. But as an industry, moving forward in a different way, we've been quite incestuous as an industry. We haven't put our big business hats on. And we really need to put our big business hats on and think, what do all these people need? And sometimes we have to tell them. Sometimes they don't know what they need. And I think finding those hotspots in a way is a very good way forward.
So many people have posted about the environment, and on many of our calls, there's great concern about about the environment, about nature, about what's happening in the world regarding sustainability and regenerative economy and all of those things. And there's this other conversation going on about single-use products and having to, there's so much waste, sort of almost medical grade waste that's occurring now in places that never had it. And so where is the balance there? As people look to the spa industry and the wellness industry, how do we protect the planet and protect the people?
Well, I think, again, we have to look at short-term, long-term, which I think is a shame. But I think because of the hygiene issues that we're going to need, say, for 6 months, it may be a year, but let's say 6 months to a year, I think that we can't be refilling things, and we can't be, we've got to, from a hygiene perspective, as I said before, I hate the thought of using disposable sheets and all of that stuff, but I think in the short term we're going to have to. I think the bigger issue, I mean, you know, we know about product inside out and sustainability within hotels. We've all talked about that ad infinitum. But I think the bigger issue are the big things. I think if you look at what stopping driving and stopping flying and all those things have done to the planet and allowed it to regenerate. By the way, you have to watch David Attenborough's new film documentary on Netflix. It's not up yet, it's coming up, but I saw a clip and it's absolutely amazing. It's scary as hell as what we're doing to the planet, but it finishes with hope. So I think everybody when it comes up onto Netflix, you should watch it, because he said it's our last chance with the planet. And I think the speed at which the planet's regenerated and what's happened with nature and animals and all these things, I just think the world's telling us something, isn't it? I mean, it's telling us something. It's almost like it needed to happen to slow us all down and make us think and make us realize what's important and not be so materialistic. And if we go back to growing stuff, because we won't be able to fly it around the world, I hope there'll be a new paradigm. I hope there'll be new thinking.
You know, you mentioned, you know, you're talking about nature. A lot of people are asking about nature. We're seeing, you know, clean air over Mumbai. We're seeing all these kinds of the impacts of all of these things, which are incredible. And so, you know, we'll send everybody the link to the David Attenborough. You know, when we send out notes after, we sort of include these kinds of things. You mentioned wellness communities as something that you're working on. And on several of our calls, we have noticed that business is booming at a time when, and first of all, construction is considered an essential service, and construction is going on. And there's it seems, an increased interest in how you build now.
Totally.
For the future, knowing that you may have to face these kinds of challenges more frequently than you have before. And so are you seeing an uptick in that kind of interest for building whole communities? And, you know, what's the impact of that?
So the 4 projects I'm working on all have a residential component, a strong residential component, and they're all wellness destinations. So they're not just houses or hotels with wellness. They're wellness destinations, a new generation. And I think that is going to be, people are going to want places to escape to where they can work on their health. I think prevention, you know, I've been bashing on about prevention for a long time. I think prevention, aging well. I think we're realizing we can't rely on our medical systems, and our medical systems are totally designed at the moment for people who are sick. And we don't want to be sick, and we want to, I can't believe in this country, because we've all been siloed for 12 weeks if you're over 70, how many people have got health issues over 70? I mean, it's totally scary. Everybody's got underlying health issues, or they're taking prescription drugs, and we really need to avoid that. And I think that the wellness communities at all ages, also family and multi-generational. I've seen for a long time this multi-generational traveling together, spending time together, grandparents teaching the grandchildren. One of my sons said to me the other day, he's got 4 boys, and whenever he needs something said, he always says, will I speak to them, because they listen to me more than they listen to him, you know. And it's that coming back to multi-generational living, and yes, community living, and having the power within that community to have diagnostics, but diagnostics more for prevention. So, you know, I've also thought for a long time, things like 3D scanning, You know, things like, I hate infusions in America because they run around in the little vans and they're not prescribed. So they're not done based on bloods. So that's a little bit different. But I think diagnostics that enable us to do the right programs, you know, to do the right fitness program, to eat the right food, whatever it is, if we've got the diagnostics, then that's going to make a huge difference. And then, as I said, the whole respiratory thing. Now that might get better if the pollution gets better, you know. So at the moment, in the big pollution respiratory issue is mostly people living in cities. But I see a big rise in hyperbaric training, everything to do with the respiratory system and strengthening it. So we're back to strengthen, aren't we, really?
Yeah, definitely boosting the immune system and strengthening all of that. That's been, you know, very much top of mind. You know, you mentioned demographics and the shift in demographics that got people's attention, and possibly the new clientele for these kinds of services. And I want to ask you about technology and if you're seeing the play of technology in wellness. I was on a big global conference yesterday where that was the topic. And are people asking for technology solutions? Are you using any technology solutions? How do you feel technology plays into this whole conversation?
Well, before COVID, it was divided right down the middle in that we all felt that technology was causing a lot of the anxiety. And that there was a lot of negativity around overuse of technology. I think we all know that we need technology. It's just, as I've said many times, it's learning to manage it. So yes, I'm seeing, well, it's interesting because I went to Shah in Spain and last year, and everything's on the app. And I actually found it really annoying because I couldn't go, you know, every treat, you're looking at your phone the whole time because all your appointments and everything's on the app, every class, absolutely everything. But of course now, and so I chose to go paper, but that's a lot to do with the generation, obviously. But now, obviously, it's going to be completely different. I think technology, I'm not sure that I'm yet convinced about mindfulness technology and meditation. It almost goes against the grain, doesn't it? I think the big thing is being in nature, learning your breath work. Meditation is what works for you. You know, you don't have to sit in a room and meditate. Meditation to me is about clarity of thought, clearing your mind, breathing, enjoying the moment, being grateful for what we have rather than what we haven't. I do believe in affirmations. I've done affirmations. When I get pissed off, I do affirmations on a regular basis because we're blessed. We're all blessed, you know, really. So yes, technology, I tell you what I think technology is really going to rise to now is business and stopping us flying. I think we've proved that we can do Zoom and we can do conferences and we can do so much more than we ever thought we could. So I think that's really going to come into its own, which, you know, if you cut down flying once a month to once every 6 months, think of what that's going to do in the big picture for the planet.
And this from a woman who travels how many days a year before COVID?
Well, I don't anymore. I'm really trying to stop. And now, interestingly, because I have struggled with doing plans, and especially in countries where losing face is tricky. So if you've got 20 people on a call trying to design something and people don't say what they think, it's really tricky. Whereas if you're face to face in a room of 20 people, you can drag it out of them or you can make things happen in a different way. But that's just one example. I mean, most of it can be done on Zoom or Teams or whatever it is.
So
I'm definitely going to cut my flying. There's no question. And I'm not going to fly long haul unless I have to.
Incredible. Susie, did you want to ask a question? I noticed you unmuted before I continue.
Yes, thank you, Sue. This has been fantastic. Really valuable to hear your thoughts on so many areas. I'm also watching the chat, and there are a few questions, and I thought maybe if you could address questions about pricing, questions about when we reopen, what about pricing and marketing? You know, that is something you're so good at. What would be your suggestions about in those arenas, pricing and marketing?
Well, I didn't talk about the economic global situation because I thought that's kind of being done elsewhere. I think the global economic situation is going to be awful for a long time. And I just don't see, I think a lot of businesses are going to go under. And I think a lot of businesses in our industry will, especially those ones that I said before are over leveraged, which a lot are. So I think there will be cost to all of this. There's space is going to be hugely valuable, especially if we do social distancing. I think we're going to have to reduce treatment menus, and keep those tight for 6 months, a year, maybe, who knows, the crystal ball's still spinning. Marketing, as I said before, I think local, domestic, building your database, doing these small events, even if you do them online at the moment to build that trust, I think the trust thing is going to be enormous. So the educational workshops, you've got a double whammy. You've got to teach the therapists and elevate their skill set so that they can teach the consumer. And then we need to do expert workshops, very much like you're doing, but small scale, so that each spa does their own. I think when people do start to travel, and I had this conversation with somebody with a very successful online business, and they said they think people will go for 1 or 2 nights, but locally, you know, quite domestically, they're not going to go far. That the thinking at the moment is about an hour and a half's drive for a while, once it starts to free up. So I think from a marketing perspective, you push, if you get your hygiene right, and that's a major piece, and you get your sterilization of your facility right, and things like the aircon with the UV and stuff like that, and you get all your SOPs in hygiene and social distancing, and you market all of that, that's what people are going to be interested in, I think. At first, you know, it'll gradually get better and we can go back to old ways and broader ways, but initially I think you're going to have to keep it tight and small things, and pick the things that you can do without that close touch. I can't see when we're going to get close touch back soon. I think it's going to be I mean, I find it difficult because I think energy work and all of that stuff is so important, but who knows? I mean, there's another school that thinks that 30-year-olds are going to all go flooding back in because they haven't got the fear.
Right. You know, one of the things I want to just take off on Susie's question, because I had pricing on my list too. And we had a really interesting call with the fitness, mind, body segment of the tribe. And, you know, they're starting to see some movement and people coming back. And the overarching feeling and, you know, what was happening in that area is that they are not discounting their pricing. Even to offer online services and do other kinds of things. And I think one of the questions is, do you think, you know, what is the pricing structure that you're envisioning when this reopens, when spas reopen? Will people be charging what they charged? Will you have to lure people back with discounted prices? What's your feeling about that?
I think it's difficult because I think it's going to be costly. It's a costly exercise to do all the things I've said. You know, if we're going to have to have everything disposable, and then we're going to have the space, so you're going to have fewer people, and you're going to have longer turnaround times because you're going to have to sterilize in between treatments. I think inevitably you can't lower your prices. However, I think that the consumer will buy into that. I think if you market that, we're taking longer to turn our treatments around. We're doing a shorter treatment menu that's less invasive to you, that's protecting our our staff, and so on and so forth, I think they'll see the value in that as long as it's marketed. I've said all along, you know, if we get our water, if we can sell our water quality, and we can sell our air quality, and we can sell our hygiene, and we can sell our training, and we can sell this space, respect for space, and all those things, I think the public will appreciate that. The consumer.
Yeah, the prevailing feeling seems to agree with you in the chat space, which is that add the value, don't discount the services.
Yes.
You know, prove the value that you're adding, prove the diligence that you're doing to keep people safe and well, and then, you know, be stronger about the business.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you if you could share with us how you stay positive and how you keep your immunity boosted. What do you do, Sue Harmsworth, to stay looking and feeling the way you do?
Oh, Nancy, I do all the old stuff. I mean, listen, I exercise a lot, not viciously, but I'm very blessed. I have to be careful because I'm blessed. You know, I sold the company, and I've sold 3 companies now. So financially, for once in my life, I'm a little bit stable. It's the first time. It's always gone back into the business. So I have pools in both of my house, and I exercise every day for 40 minutes in the pool. I wake up in the morning and I have a balcony and a lot of green space, and I really do breath work, and I do some affirmations. I am very grateful for what I have, for my children and my grandchildren and my colleagues and this industry and the world. I have huge hope for the world. And I really think you can teach yourself to be positive. So for the young ones who maybe get depressed, it's always looking at what you have, not what you have not. Because most of us in this industry are blessed compared to the rest of the world. We don't understand poverty like most of the world. And I'm sitting here talking to you, looking very beautiful. I'm looking out of my window at green azaleas and rhododendrons and goodness knows what. And skin-wise, obviously looked after that. I take supplements now. At the moment, because of COVID, I'm doing vitamins, high dosage vitamin C, high dosage vitamin D, zinc, curcumin, and elderflower. So they're all antibacterial. By the way, I never said that. I think we'll be looking at antibacterial products again, antifungal, antibacterial. So clinical aromatherapy, I think, start looking at that again, because the essential oils, things like tea tree, elderflower, they're going to be really important. But yeah, I just get on with life, really. And I got it from my dad. I have this faith in human nature. I think we will always, but we mustn't take advantage of our planet. We really mustn't.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for sharing that. I want to make a shameless plug while I'm watching the chat light up with the desire for people all over the world to work together to establish standards for good hygiene and safety in spas, and to say that we're already beginning to aggregate all those, many people and many organizations are starting to put out lists. iSpa has done it, others have done it, of standards, new standards and new ways to look at things. And we're aggregating it all on the Global Wellness Institute website. Urge you to send us those links that you're doing. We will be happy to. We're putting together an initiative to deal with this. Anybody who would like to be part of that should just step up to us. When Beatrice sends out a post-call follow-up, respond to her and let her know you're interested. We agree there need to be some standards and a real effort on the industry globally to say we are doing this. This is what it's going to look like. These are the best minds in the industry coming together to talk about it and deal with it. So Sue, expect to be tapped for that as well.
Well, can I just say very quickly,
Sure.
I did a Zoom this morning with the SATCC, which is the organisation we've set up in the UK for the caring cancer, touching cancer, and we agreed that we would put some standards together for hygiene. And then I have some from some of the medical people as well So we'll certainly share those, and because I think we need hospital level. So we don't want funny little bits and pieces. It's got to be hospital grade, and it's got to be serious.
Yeah, that's the prevailing feeling seems to be that this is now going to turn sort of medical grade, and people really feel that you know the way services are being offered and the way the practitioners are being trained and tested, all of that has got to hit a different kind of mark, and coming together as an industry to do it seems like a very, very appropriate project, and we're happy to offer the umbrella of the Institute over this.
Right.
Final thoughts. So Susie, did you want to ask something? I was going to.
I wanted to ask, but I wanted to mention something first and then ask you, Sue. I don't know if everyone on the call is aware, as Sue had said, this is a moment where people are recognizing, taking self-responsibility. The healthcare system isn't the only thing you should be trusting. There's also self-care and wellness and so on. And I just wanted to let everyone know, and then the question for Sue is that we have been asked, the Global Wellness Institute has been asked by the Vatican to help with a new vision for health going forward. They're looking at talking about health going forward with a newer vision, and they're interested in wellness being a part or maybe even a leader in that, which of course we're very excited about. So our researchers, Catherine and Ophelia, are working on this now. They're contributing 8 white papers, and you'll hear more about that. But my question to you, Sue, is when it comes to wellness, it feels like this is our moment. What is the one message? Because we have a lot of different messages, and I feel like as an industry, it's good if we get behind a major message, like you had mentioned about hygiene being important right now in our facilities. What do you think is the wellness message for governments, for organizations all over, medical as well as non-medical? What is the wellness message that you would say should be resonating and that we should be all trumpeting at this point?
Don't put me on the spot, Susie.
And you have 1 minute.
I still, I still think, and I know it maybe sounds too simple, but I still think it's prevention, because that reaches right across demographics and the poor. You know, I mean, teaching poor people how not to get sick, and so hygiene has a lot to do with that, obviously, and opportunity and all sorts of other things. But I don't think that as we, because we're quite incestuous, we really begin to understand about prevention. But I don't think the world is. The world still goes to doctors. The world is still taking pills for everything. And that, for me, it should be our mission, should be the Global Wellness Summit, should be the Vatican, and all these things should be creating a world of better health well into old age, as it used to be, you know, and that you drop dead or you fall asleep and you die. I just feel that we're not getting that message over. There's not a big enough distinction between prevention and the sick.
Thank you. I couldn't have said it better, and it reminds me that our wellness moonshot, a world free of preventable disease, is right on, and maybe we just need to all help each other with the messaging to keep it simple, so that really that you know, that is our message. So thank you, Sue. Well said. Well said.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, before we all unmute and give you a round of applause, one last comment from you, Sue Harmsworth. What is the one silver lining that you have personally taken away from this crisis?
That there is a better future, that there is a better world for our children and our grandchildren, and that we're responsible for it, but we're also a community that support each other. And it's really important to be supportive and not, because there's danger at the minute. Sorry, Nancy, I made it too long. There's danger at the minute of a blame game coming. you know, that we're going to blame China, or we're going to blame this country, or we're going to blame that country. And it's really important that we all pull together for a better future for everyone.
Thank you, Sue Harmsworth, and Beatrice will unmute everyone so we can give you a round of applause.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
Cheers with you.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Much.
Everyone.
everybody.
Chicos, les χειροκροτάμε, ωραία το